every time I teach and Christine chases me up, she doesn't chase me, I shouldn't put that on her, but she comes upstairs and she's like, all right, so we're going to get started. I didn't know what to do with that whole 7 minutes that we had extra today. I'm glad we had that time to just talk to each other. So today for Sunday school, we're going to do Philippians 4:15 through 18. So just as a reminder, next week, Erica will be finishing off Philippians, and then we will start in Christine. Why am I so focused on Christine? Erica. Christine is going to finish us off in Ephesians.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Philippians. I will finish you in Philippians. There you go. And all three of us will start in Colossians in October.
Was this how it's going to go today? All right. So.
Well, her ears are clogged, so she didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Right over
I
it.
was on the.
Yeah, she's like 30 seconds behind me, so I can say whatever I want and be gone by the time she hears it. So, we are just a few verses from the end of Paul's letter to the Philippians, and in verses 15 through 18, he's taking the time to thank the Philippians for the past and present giving they have done, which is awesome. And he also, in this thank you, he's thanking the Philippians, but through that, he's reminding us of a couple things. So that's what we're going to kind of focus on. But before we get started, I'm going to start off with some prayer before I read those verses. Dear Lord, thank you so much for bringing us here today. I thank you so much for the hearts of the women in this room. I thank you that no matter where we're coming from or where we're going, Lord, that we can take this time to meet together and just talk about you, Lord. I'm so thankful for the Apostle Paul and the letters that he has written to these churches. It reminds them and it reminds us what we're called to in your family, Lord. I just pray that all these words would be heard today, Lord, and that you would just be with us through this time. I pray all this in your name. Amen. So Philippians 4:15 through 18, I'm just going to read it really quick. So Philippians 4, Lisa. There we go. 15 through 18. You yourselves also know, Philippians, that the first preaching of the gospel after I left Macedonia, no church shared with me in a matter of giving and receiving except you alone. For even in Thessalonica, you sent a gift more than once for my needs. Not that I seek the gift itself, but I seek the profit which increases to your account. But I have received everything in full and have an abundance. I am amply supplied, having received from, who did this one? Epaphroditus, yes. What you have sent, a fragrant aroma, an acceptable sacrifice pleasing to God. So I kind of want to start off just talking about things that we do sometimes, because we almost have to read between the lines here to see what Paul is actually saying. So he's thanking the Philippians, but he's also saying things like, you alone, which means they were the only ones. So other churches complaining, grumbling, not supporting Paul in his mission. And he's also talking about that contentment of whatever he's going through in life, he is content. And he also, so we talked about the partnership, and he's also talking about the generosity of the gifts that he sent them. So that's where we're going to kind of focus, is those words: partnership, generosity, and wow.
Christine.
Thank you. Contentment. You can tell I didn't write that down in my notes. So the first thing I want to start with before we actually get into the verses is one of the marks of our culture today, and you'll probably agree with me, is that we should have everything that we want.
That's our culture. Yeah.
Thank you. So, and this can lead anyone to show far less appreciation than you should. And it also leads you to complain about far more things that are unreasonable.
True.
So, I thought about this and I was like, well, things like the dishwasher was filled. That's a praise, but it wasn't filled the way I would do it. And when I emptied it, I had to flip over a bowl that was full of water. Right? May seem reasonable, but it was still done. How about, I can't believe that I have to wait in line at the grocery store with 3 people in front of me. Or, even better, what about, well man, I only showed up in 2 pictures during that event. Maybe somebody doesn't like me because that person's in 3 pictures, right? You're still being, you know, I'm sorry, that was not a focus at Christine. I see all the laughing and pointing, I'm sorry. But I thought about Facebook, because somebody complained on Facebook this week that, you know, oh, I don't see myself in your pictures, and I was like,
That's weird.
so I had to go online, and I had to hear some really unreasonable complaining. So I found complaints online that were sent to staff members of a well-known national park. And this national park, they didn't name it, but this national park is known for its spectacular, amazing views. And the hiking trails are just beautiful. But this is some of the things that they heard from people after they left this national park. The trails need to be wider so people can hold hands. You know what? The places where trails don't exist aren't marked. Please avoid building trails that go uphill. You should install escalators in steep areas. Oh, this one. The coyotes made too much noise last night and kept me awake. Can you please remove these annoying animals? And oh, a deer came into my camp and stole my jar of pickles. I would like to be reimbursed for this. And the ever famous, there are way too many bugs and spiders here. Please spray the wilderness to get rid of these pests.
Oh my God.
Right? So you're
That
in
is hilarious.
the most beautiful place, and these are the things that you complain about. And I said right away, these staff members, I don't know how they responded, but I hope they wouldn't respond like me, because I'd be like, it's the wilderness, yo. Like, and you know what? I'd rather have the deer because they complain a lot less. So the thing is, where that may seem really funny, it's stuff that we do all the time. We forget our blessings and remember our complaints. According to Romans chapter 1, in Romans chapter 1, he is talking about the people refusing to give God thanks for his creation, his attributes, and effectively his grace that he created for us, even though they knew about God. Paul says in Romans 1:21, for although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Right? That's what complaining does to us. An unthankful spirit is usually a distinguishing mark in an unbeliever. And that's why we know that as believers, a spirit of gratitude should be our distinctive trait. But knowing that doesn't make it any easier to do. So, did you know that right now, the planet Earth is spinning on its axis at a speed of 1,040 miles per hour? And at the same time, we're speeding through space at 67,000 miles per hour? God is keeping that in control, right? He's keeping that in control. We don't even know it. We don't feel it. And yes, I looked up those facts to make sure I was right. That is true. So I encourage you that even on days when you feel like you have accomplished nothing, remember, you've traveled millions of miles through space with God controlling, falling, or spinning out of control. But I ask, when's the last time you thanked God for that? So the next time you can't think of anything else to pray, say, Lord, I wasn't sure that we make the full rotation today, but you did it again. Thank you. So, One author put it this way: the more mature prayers of thanksgiving are not those offered for the apparent blessings, but those spoken in gratitude for obstacles overcome, insights gained, and help received in a time of need. And this is exactly where we find Paul, in a place where his own life is not working out as he planned, but he's still thanking God and the Philippians. So if I go back to verses 15 and 16, again, there it says, "You yourselves also know, Philippians, that at the first preaching of the gospel after I left Macedonia, no church shared with me in the matter of giving and receiving except you alone. For even in Thessalonica, you sent a gift more than once for my needs." So, Paul is taking them all the way back to the very beginning of his ministry. He's telling them, all right? Well, he's not telling them. He's just saying, you already know. I just want to point that out. But he's taking them back to when he first started his ministry. When he first arrived in the city of Philippi, in the region called Macedonia, there were no Christians. There wasn't a church, and there had never been any missionaries that touched this area. Paul was the first one to arrive. By the time Paul left, following the usual riot and jail sentence and all that, a church was meeting in the home of the first convert in that city, in fact, all of Europe, a wealthy woman named Lydia. I had to bring her up. Everybody knows how much I love Lydia. And the members of this infant church included a former demon-possessed enslaved person who had come to faith, and she was joined by a whole family of a warden to the local jail. You remember him? He got saved after an earthquake that released all the prisoners. The prisoners didn't go anywhere. Thank you, Paul and Silas. But Paul didn't need to add any of this historical commentary in his thank you letter. That's why you hear him say right at the beginning of verse 15, you know this already. You know where I came from. The generosity of the Philippian church to Paul goes back a really long way. And maybe in your mind you're thinking of something or somebody that you've supported for a very long time. From the initial visit of Paul, the church remained loyal and supportive of Paul, sending him gifts occasionally. Even when news reached the Philippians that Paul was under arrest, that he was destitute, he lacked in everything, he couldn't freely work or preach, it was probably really hard for Paul, and that he was cold during the winter months, immediately the Philippians collected funds and sent Epaphroditus to find him. And we saw that in verse 18. Paul typically supported himself. He used his tent-making skills and tools because normally his standard policy was to support himself. He didn't like to receive gifts from believers because he thought it might misrepresent what he was doing. But he found him in a spot under house arrest where he needed to be dependent on others. And the one word in all of 15 that I want you to hit on or to strike out to you is the end of the verse, alone. The Philippians alone sent support to Paul, which meant that Paul was effectively alone. Really think about that. Let it sink in. At this point in Paul's ministry, where dozens and dozens of house churches dot the landscape, no one, not one of them, was supporting him. They forgot that they had gotten the vision and the value of the Apostle Paul. The Philippians remembered him while everyone else just forgot him. This may make no sense, the next thing I'm going to say, but I have to say it. Did you ever hug somebody or call them and then you hear them say, "You're the first person I've gotten a hug from today. You're the first person that I've talked to all day"? This is what that is. And in our minds, for some of us, maybe we're thinking like, how can that happen? How can I call this person at 5 o'clock at night and they've not talked to one person for the rest of the day? Or how come Christine was the first person to give him a hug in a couple days, right? So that's what I think that is really looking at, that word alone. One of the reasons the Philippian church is worth remembering from Paul is because they remembered. And I think the reason I bring up the hug or the call or the text is because I think that's our call to action, right? We don't want people. I always, in this spot, always think of Erica and her work that she does when she goes out and talks to people. Me and my husband think it's like nuts. We actually were talking about it yesterday, but Erica will see someone in need and there is no hesitation in this woman. I'm like, she will walk right up to them, and I even thought about it. I'm like, I will go into situations and I'm like, okay, I'm uncomfortable, but what would Erica do? Erica would go over there. She would bring him a drink. She would, and the thing is that,
WWE.
right? Right? So, and I know she's sitting there right now going, Lisa, I am not. But that's the thing. Their financial material gifts to Paul were acts of gratitude for what he had done in their lives. I also want to point out that Paul is not referring to a financial gift in verse 15. He uses the word sharing or shared, some of the versions say, and this word translates to a word he actually uses earlier in chapter 1 where he refers to partnership or fellowship. So that's really what they were giving him was, and they did give him financial gifts as well, which we'll get into. But he's talking about a partnership with the Philippians, a fellowship with the Philippians. And if you want to look back to that, it's chapter 1, verses 3 through 5. So what he's saying here to the Philippians is, listen, for all these years now, we have partnered together in not only experiencing the extravagant grace of God, but delivering it through the gospel message. I've done the preaching and the traveling, but you have supported me and prayed for me, and that makes us equal partners. And I thought that was great, because there are some times where I can't go on a mission trip, or I can't go do something, but I can support and pray, right? And they're saying that is equal partners. Paul is thanking them because no one else but them stayed and supported him. He even mentions in verse 16 that even when he was in the next door town, Thessalonica, they sent gifts more than once for his needs. They never forgot him no matter where he was. But it makes me think, where were the other people? I couldn't find anything, maybe you can, but we're not told. The Philippians never gave up on Paul, and they never forgot him. So Paul is also saying, not only thanking them for being faithful partners, but also saying they're going to share in the reward, right? It's all to their account, and that is a banking term. So in verse 17, he goes on to say, not that I seek the gift itself, but I seek the profit which increases to your account. Your account. Okay? So he's saying, I'm thrilled to receive your gifts because of what they mean to me and what they mean to you. Right? You ever receive a gift from somebody and you're like, duh, that's really nice. But he's also saying that God is going to reward them. The spiritual account has been increased. And I had to add in there, just like I wish my bank account would increase. But yeah, our spiritual accounts will be increased when we're partnering. Imagine only the Philippians thought that Paul was a worthy investment. And here we are, years later, saying, yes, we want to be like the Philippians. We want to make an investment into the gospel. Right? Did you ever hear of the Pareto principle? The 80-20 rule?
No.
Right? The 80-20 rule, you never heard of this? 20% of people in churches do 80% of the work.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow, that's true.
Right? What would it look like if Christine just like... So what would it look like if it was opposite? What if it would look like 80% of the people?
That would be great.
Something we can do, right? It's what the Philippians were doing. And I don't say that as like, oh no, Lisa's yelling at us. Because I have to think the same way too, right? I have to find out, what are my gifts? What are my skills and talents? Where can I work within the church? When you invest in the gospel, it will be returned in spiritual dividends. In, just making sure I have time, in 2 Corinthians 9:6, it says, 2 Corinthians 9:6, it says, the point is this: whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. This means we don't give to get, but God is pleased when we give in his name. In verse 18, it says, but I have received everything in full and have an abundance. I am amply supplied, having received from Epaphroditus what you sent, a fragrant aroma, an acceptable sacrifice pleasing to God. Oh, Paul, in your sweet contentment. May I realize that I have been blessed as you are, and stop completing. So Paul emphasizes his gratitude by 3 statements in verse 18. I have received everything in full. This alludes to financial support. I mean, he must have owed bills somewhere, right? He lived somewhere. He moved around. He needed food. He's saying the gifts that they're sending is taking care of it all. He says, I have everything in abundance. This is a Greek verb that means to have excess. So he's saying what you supplied is way more than enough. He also says, I'm amply supplied. Paul is completely filled, not barely, but fully. If we were to think of this in our culture today, Paul is saying the rent is paid, there's food on the table, there's clothes on my back, and money in my savings. Right? Paul describes these gifts as a sweet-smelling aroma, an acceptable sacrifice pleasing to God. If it doesn't, it should remind you of the sacrifices and how they were described in the Old Testament. One example being Exodus 29:41. Exodus 29:41. And the other lamb you shall offer at twilight, and you shall offer it with the grain offering and the drink offering, as in the morning, for a sweet aroma, an offering made by fire to the Lord. Our giving to God's work is similar to these Old Testament sacrifices, where the Lord sees it as pleasant and good. And I understand that it's sacrifices. It's a sacrifice sometimes to work in God's kingdom. But remember, bulls and rams didn't come cheaply in that day either. All right, so generosity, partnership, and contentment. Principles that Paul brings up throughout the book of Philippians, and he's reminding them of this before he ends the letter. So what are the practical applications? We're going to practice some of them. Oh, sorry, that was a really evil laugh. All right, so we threw up here, man. All right, so generosity. I want you to take stock of your financial situation, your skills, and your time. Don't answer this out loud, but think, where are the areas that you can be generous? Whether it's a church, a charity, a community project, can you find ways to be generous? Can you seek every day for opportunities to be generous by helping a neighbor or offering a kind word? I want you, I'm not going to make you do anything, don't worry, it's coming. So I want you to think about, and this may be uncomfortable, what's something you're not doing now that kind of piques your interest with your skills and talents, your generosity, right? Think on that, pray on that. Partnership. Who is your community, and how can you collaborate with others to share your talents and expertise? You have to remember that partnership is a two-way street, just like Paul didn't like to accept gifts, right? It's a two-way street. So are you willing to accept support and guidance from others when you need it? My mom always reminded me to accept gifts graciously. Yeah. She always said it. If somebody came to you and was like, Lisa, I got this for you, and I'm like, accept gifts graciously. And I remind you of that today. It's hard to take things from people sometimes, right? That's probably one of the hardest things we do is accepting help from somebody else. Because even as women, we're the nurturers, we're strong in that. And it's hard to say sometimes, I'm failing, I'm falling, help me. Right? And we have to. It's what he's telling the Philippians and us, that we need to be reminded to accept gifts graciously. So I used a big word there called collaboration. Just kidding. Collaboration. And that's what it takes, right? And collaboration might sound like a really big word, right? And it's like, well, they use that in business. And yeah, we do. I actually make all my new hires come up with words that mean collaboration. What does it mean to them? I'm not going to do that to you. But what does it mean to you? What does collaboration look like in the church, right? And contentment. So, do you understand what truly brings you satisfaction and joy into your life? Do you know what that is? Because that's where your focus should be. So many times people say, well, I have to go to this far distant land and I don't like it there. Oh, it would be like me telling my husband the only way to get to God was to go camping. Right? He would not like that. And my husband always says when I ask him to go camping, he's like, why would I do that? The Lord punished the Israelites by sending them camping. Right? So it's not where his joy and his focus is. But if there's something that brings you satisfaction and joy into your life, that's where your focus should be. That you can do great work nurturing in those areas. Are you engaging in prayer or scripture reading to deepen your sense of peace and contentment, regardless of your circumstances? I encourage you to reflect on things you're thankful for or show gratitude to somebody else, because it will help shift your focus and your thinking. So this one we are going to do a little activity for. Dun, dun, dun. So, my friend Christine is going to be handing out a little hello card to you. It is blank on the inside. We do have pens if you need one. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. All right? I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I want you to write a note of encouragement and thanks, or just encouragement, to a pastor's wife. So the left side is going to write a note of encouragement to Maria Ginian, who is Pastor Greg's wife. Doesn't matter if you don't know her, maybe you don't talk to her every week. Write her a note of encouragement. She's got a lot to put up with. All right? The right side.
Or the left side. Or the left.
No, left for me, right for me. All right? It's not about you guys, it's about me. So this side is going to Greta McDonald, Pastor Vince's wife. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to write a little card. Does anybody need a pen?
So
Kathleen
all
needs
of them?
So you're going to do Greta. Her name's Greta McDonald. She's Pastor Vince's wife.
So that would be on just us on the left.
Just on this side, and this side's going to do Maria. 5 minutes. If you're online, you can always send a quick note to either the pastor's wives or anybody you want. It's good to practice gratitude. Do you need a pen? You're thinking. I see it. It doesn't have to be a novel. It just has to be a word of encouragement. Yes, sign your names, and then I'm going to collect them. Well, Christine's going to collect them. Should I play some music? Sure. I got you. I got you. Maybe I don't. Should I play the new Wonder and All? Yes. No.
Do we sign our names, did you say?
Yes, please. Is that really loud?
Maria. Maria. Yeah, no, you only have to do one.
Just one.
Just one, that's it.
Maria.
fix that.
Doesn't have to be your heart and soul. Except for Christine. I feel like I should have you share these. It's a pretty good idea. Looking like 2 minutes. What's that? Spelling and grammar don't matter. Spelling and grammar don't matter. This is not a test. This is encouraging our pastors' wives. No, it doesn't come naturally to me either. And I wrote 4 of them out just to practice. I know. This is so hard for me. Don't even know where to do it.
Are you done?
Just think of the impact it'll make. Christine.
I made all the deaconesses do this last week. Not to the women, no.
I was gonna say, if you're a deaconess, you should be used to this, because Christine made you last week. Are you good? Would you mind? I don't need like, you can put them on there. So as,
Do you want me to get this side, Lisa?
yeah, and it doesn't matter, they can all be mixed together.
Oh.
Can you grab the pens too, Erica, Donna? Because I don't want to.
I only gave out 3.
Oh, nice, I only gave out 3. I can replace 3. So as you guys are finishing up, Erica's gonna collect them. So I wanna let you know that, gratitude is really important to me, and, the thing is I am not good at writing letters. I am not good at reaching out to people, and that's, as I say, gratitude is a big thing. We actually do this exercise that I just put you through for encouragement. Whenever I start a new hire class, I actually send out handwritten letters to each one of my students that are coming in, because we are all online. So every one of my students before they come in gets a handwritten note, and I've seen it change for me and change for the people that are getting those. All right, so I just want to thank you, because I do think, 1, it'll make an impact on them, and 2, let it make an impact on you. Because the thing is when we're showing gratitude to other people, we are focusing on them. We're focusing on them. This week I was talking to somebody, and they reminded me to have a humble heart means that you're focused on somebody else over yourself. And I was like, wow, that's so true. And how many times do my sentences start with I? So by implementing these just quick principles in your life of generosity, partnership, and contentment, it can impact your daily life. So I encourage you to explore those 3 things in full. See what else is out there. See what you can do. And I really do believe that if we lift each other up in prayer over these things as well, we'll see a difference. So I'm going to be praying for you. I hope you pray for me. But thank you, because I think that as Paul ends this letter and Christine finishes it out next week, we have really seen a theme of contentment, generosity, and partnership all throughout this letter, and it's something that we can bring into our daily lives. I know she is greeting, so you're gonna. All right, so Christine's gonna come up and just kind of get some prayer requests.